unexpected, it beggars the imagination. So brilliant, it takes the breath away. Now that's quintessentially English. Northern England, birthplace of industrial revolution. Its great cities changed the history of the world and helped forge an empire. A land of contrast, where a light bulb moment illuminated a whole city. And an ancient ruin spawned horror's bloodiest fiend. From the castle where Harry Potter learned to fly, to the birthplace of a band that changed pop music forever. The forest where the legend of Robin Hood was born. And a theatre of dreams where the world's greatest team sport plays out. Ever-changing, always innovating, past, present and future in perfect harmony. This is Northern England. Beadnell Bay in Northumberland, a sandy 2-mile stretch of England's northeast coast. At this northerly latitude, winds blowing off the North Sea can be bracing, even in summer. But for father and son kite surfers, Kevin and Johnny Anderson, it's paradise. Kevin used to work in the auto industry, but left to follow his dream in the world of adventure sports. Johnny first took to the water 9 years ago. Since then, he's developed a passion for this exhilarating sport that's evolved into a full-time job as a kitesurfing instructor with his dad. The waters of the North Sea are famously cold, but Johnny's not bothered. Northerners are famously hardy folk. Up here, where the tides of history have turned many times, there's a real pride of place, hard-won and fiercely maintained. This was once the northern frontier of the Roman Empire. Hadrian's Wall, completed around 134 AD. A fortified barrier 73 miles long, rising 20 feet high, dividing Britain from coast to coast. Built to contain and subdue the fierce tribes of Scotland, the wall would remain intact, manned by legions of soldiers for more than 3 centuries. The Romans abandoned Britain over 1600 years ago, but even now, evidence of their military infrastructure can still be seen. And one of the most impressive examples is right here in Northumberland. Ever since he visited Hadrian's Wall at the age of 10, William Cassidy has been fascinated by archaeology. Before retirement, he travelled the world as a Royal Air Force engineer. Now he spends his days uncovering the secrets of this ancient fort called Vindolanda. Once the front line of Roman Britain, this huge military complex is the most extensive ruin of its kind anywhere in Europe. It contains the remains of cavalry stables, infantry barracks, administrative offices, and even a main street along which shops and taverns once stood. Vindolanda was the largest of many military bases south of Hadrian's Wall. Romans haven't set foot here for over 1600 years, at least not ancient Romans. Italian-born site supervisor Marta Alberti could well be walking in her ancestors' footsteps. She's one of the many archaeologists bringing the past to life. Already they've unearthed 400 carved wooden pages known as the Vindolanda tablets. Remarkable accounts of daily life at the fort, from troop movements to a birthday party invite sent by the wife of an official. The earliest known letter written in Latin by a woman. The Romans may have been the first to conquer Britain, but they weren't the last. This is Alnwick, historic seat of the Dukes of Northumberland, and possibly the most photographed castle in England. Founded in 1096, 30 years after the Norman invasion, it changed hands 3 times during the 15th century War of the Roses. A 32-year struggle for the English throne between the rival factions of York and Lancaster. For some, however, this castle will always be associated with the world's most famous boy wizard. In Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Alnwick's battlements became the walls of Hogwarts. This section was used as a backdrop to the scene where Harry is taught to fly for the first time. Today, a group of fans, young and not so young, are recreating the memorable broomstick lesson given by Madam Hooch. The classes are hugely popular, a chance for disciples of the franchise to indulge their own flights of fancy, without the crash landing. Harry Potter's second favourite mode of transport was, of course, steam. Less fanciful, perhaps, but in some ways just as magical. Running through the West Yorkshire village of Haworth is the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway. A former main line, now operated as a self-contained heritage railway, it carries over 100,000 tourists every year. Steam railways like this once served the greatest transport network in the world, serving hundreds of mills and factories in the industrial north of England. The railways would change England forever, opening the way for free movement of goods and people. By 1838, Manchester and London, once separated by a 4-day journey, were just 4 hours apart. For the wealthy industrialists of the 19th century, a new age had begun. At one time, this vast 19th century textile mill at Shipley in West Yorkshire turned vast quantities of raw fibre into fabrics and clothing. But it was more than just a manufacturing plant. It was a unique social experiment founded by industrialist Sir Titus Salt. His statue in nearby Roberts Park depicts a man who would revolutionise the very nature of Victorian industry. Sir Titus Salt was deeply religious and considered it his duty to better the living conditions of those who worked for him. And this was his grand plan, Saltaire, a model town designed to fulfill all the needs of his workforce and their families. And so in 1853, beside the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, Salt built his factory. Along with it, he built homes, schools, infirmaries, libraries and public bathhouses, insisting that all his employees bathed at least twice a week. Saltaire wasn't the first industrialised model village, but it was one of the largest and most successful. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Salt's experiment made him famous, the epitome of a new kind of enlightened capitalist. When he died in 1876, over 100,000 people, including thousands of grateful employees, lined the route of his funeral procession. The same sense of community that once prevailed here resonates elsewhere in English life. Swimmer Jenna Chatburn competed several times at the English National Championships. These days, this ornate mushroom-shaped pool is her office. For the past 8 years, she has worked here as a leisure attendant and swimming instructor. This pool at Ilkley near Bradford was built in the 1930s. A time when England's love of outdoor swimming was matched by a craze for Art Deco design. It's an elegant reminder of early 20th century life in Northern England, part of a great architectural legacy that's still a source of fascination today.
Historically, sauces are either sweet or spicy, but Arby's new King's Hawaiian Chicken Sandwich is both, because Arby's makes both history and sandwiches. Arby's, we have the meat.
We'll be here so you can be there. Everything from vitamin A to vitamin Z's, delivered in 1 hour.
Your heart is the beat of life. If you have heart failure, entrust your heart to Entresto. Entresto helps improve your heart's ability to pump blood to the body. Don't take Entresto if pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. And don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or aliskiren, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Ask your doctor if Entresto is right for you.
Yeah, we love our house, but the cost of home ownership has been a struggle, with utility prices rising. And sweetie, can you practice that somewhere else? Anyway, like I was saying, it's getting harder and harder to make ends meet. And, hon? Do you mind?
Well, on the bright side, new customers who bundle and save with Progressive save over 20% on average.
Sorry, we let them practice here on Thursdays. Sounding good, friends?
I gave my mom Storyworth to learn what it was like for her to move to America. Her memories of our first apartment brought me to tears. But the best moment was when she opened her book and realized she does have a story worth sharing. Get started at Storyworth.com.
With ButcherBox, we deliver grass-fed beef, organic free-range chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught seafood, and so much more. Sign up today for free chicken thighs in every box for a year.
Ribs, chocolate cake.
You're gonna get sick. You need pumpkin.
I love pumpkin.
It's not food, it's pet insurance. So when you get hurt or sick and you need expensive medicine or surgery,
Pet insurance from Pumpkin can help.
go to pumpkin.care.
Most name brand bars and body washes you rub on your skin are classified by the FDA as synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man, and men deserve real, all-natural soap. Dr. Squatch Natural Soap.
I had 8 UTIs in 1 year. This inspired me and my partner Spencer to launch Eucora. Eucora makes effective urinary tract health products.
It truly works miracles. The peace of mind I've been looking for.
Go to Eucora.com to learn more.
Police! Is anybody there?
When disaster strikes, find out why.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Smithsonian Channel reveals the shocking secrets.
The report should have been a red flag.
And critical errors.
People didn't take it that seriously.
That led to some of the worst disasters in recent memory.
People could only just run like hell.
These missed opportunities ultimately proved to be fatal.
10 Steps to Disaster. All new Sundays at 9 on Smithsonian Channel.
Here at this magnificent stately home in Derbyshire, the sister of a future American president once fell in love with an English duke. Chatsworth House, seat of the Dukes of Devonshire, passed down through 16 generations of the Cavendish family. Their vast estate once covered 35,000 acres of the Derbyshire countryside. The house still contains one of the world's finest art collections. In its heyday, Chatsworth employed a staff of 40 to maintain its day-to-day affairs. 2 full-time window cleaners worked all year round to maintain the Duke's pristine view of their magnificent domain. Chatsworth's 100-acre garden was created by England's foremost landscape designer, Capability Brown. At one time, 100 gardeners tended these grounds. First set out in 1555, they were redesigned many times. 1,200 yew trees were planted to create Chatsworth's Maze. It stands on the site of what was once England's largest glass structure. A greenhouse so vast that its 8 boilers required an underground railway to keep them supplied with coal. For all its good fortune, Chatsworth has also known tragedy. In 1944, Kathleen Kennedy, sister of the future US President John F. Kennedy, married William Cavendish. William, a soldier and the heir to Chatsworth, was killed in action that same year. Kathleen herself died in a plane crash in 1948. Chatsworth remains one of the most sublime man-made landscapes in all of England. Centuries ago, the country was covered by an equally spectacular sea of green, a great forest canopy that would gradually disappear to make way for agricultural expansion. But there are still places where vestiges of that ancient woodland remain. And here in the northwestern county of Nottinghamshire stands the most famous of them all, Sherwood Forest. These are the woods where the legendary medieval outlaw Robin Hood is said to have lived, robbing the rich to help the poor. In the Middle Ages, Sherwood was the hunting ground of kings and princes, and it covered nearly a quarter of the county. Today, just 1,000 acres remain, protected as a national nature reserve. At the heart of Sherwood stands the tree, according to legend, that sheltered Robin and his merry men as they slept. The tree measures 33 feet around the base and weighs around 23 tons. Its massive limbs have been supported by scaffolding since Victorian times. Thought to be at least 800 years old, the major oak would almost certainly have been alive during the late medieval period in which Robin Hood's legend is set. At the nearby village of Edwinstowe in the heart of Sherwood Forest, the 12th century church of St Mary attracts thousands of visitors every year. According to legend, it was here that Robin Hood and Maid Marian were wed. Told and retold over the centuries, the legend of Robin Hood has adapted to suit a changing world without ever losing its connection to the past. And the same can be said of Northern England's greatest city, Manchester. Once a hub of commerce and manufacture like nowhere else on earth, in the 19th century it will become the world's first fully industrialised city. Today, its innovative architecture and gleaming towers reflect a new phase in Manchester's history. On quays that once jostled with trade ships stood warehouses crammed full of the raw material that gave Manchester its 19th century nickname, Cottonopolis. Founded in 79 AD, the Roman fort of Mamucium would grow to become England's second city. Built for the modern equivalent of $3 billion, the ship canal that connected it to the port of Liverpool was once the longest river navigation system in the world. 3/5 of all the cotton produced in the US once passed through these waters. During the American Civil War, that same industry was devastated when the city's workforce refused to handle slave-picked cotton. A stance that President Lincoln would later praise as sublime Christian heroism. As its heavy industries declined, the city would survive, renewing its own fortune through innovation. And it was at Manchester University that much of that innovation took place. Here in 1917, the nuclear age began, when the pioneering work of physicist Ernest Rutherford resulted in the splitting of the atom. Another Manchester alumnus was the brilliant mathematician Alan Turing, who deciphered Germany's Enigma machine and changed the course of the Second World War. At his office in this building, Turing's work on artificial intelligence would lay the foundations for modern computing. Tragically, Turing was betrayed by the prejudice of his time. Criminally convicted for homosexuality, he took his own life in 1954. Manchester continues to innovate through architecture and design. The award-winning Civil Justice Building is known to locals as the Filing Cabinet. Half a mile south, the 47-story Beetham Tower rises high above the city, one of the thinnest skyscrapers in the world. In a city once known for its smog, One Angel Square is among the cleanest, most progressive designs in Europe. It's heated by passive solar gain. It recycles both rain and wastewater. And even though 3,000 people work here, the entire building has a carbon emissions rating of 0. Once the heart of Cottonopolis, Salford Quays epitomise Manchester's 21st century regeneration. Flanking the canal, the TV studios of Media City and the deconstructed architecture of the Imperial War Museum. And completing the cultural triangle, the Lowry, an arts and theatre complex named after Manchester's most famous painter, L.S. Lowry. Close by, at another great theatre, a different kind of drama plays out. This is Old Trafford, home to the world's richest soccer club, Manchester United. Known as the Theatre of Dreams, this stadium has seen some of the greatest players the game has ever known, and two of its most legendary managers, Sir Matt Busby and Sir Alex Ferguson. The club is currently owned by the American Glazer family, who also own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers NFL franchise. Recently valued at $4.12 billion, Manchester United is little short of a global phenomenon. But that's of mere passing interest to the people of Salford. With its history deeply rooted in the community, United is, and always will be, their team. For Sam Chesters, soccer is more than just a game. In 1944, her grandfather, Owen Chesters, founded Bar Hill Ladies Football Club at Salford. Sam's been playing on this pitch since the age of 10. It's all about team spirit and camaraderie, honed with a fierce, competitive edge. Sam has played every defensive and attacking position in the game, but the one that appealed to her most was goalkeeping. In a way, she's following an old family tradition. Sam's grandfather, Arthur, also kept goal for a local team. That team just happened to be Manchester United. Of course, soccer's not the only way to fill a stadium. Who needs a ball when you can have Wonderwall? After World War II, suburbs like Burnage, just 4 miles south of Manchester, saw an explosion in their population. And as the children of the baby boomers found their voice, creativity surged from these conservative red brick homes. Gallagher brothers Liam and Noel formed their band Oasis not far from here. This playing field was the backdrop to the video for Shaker Maker, one of their first hits. In the lyrics, Noel Gallagher wrote, "Mr. Sifter sold me songs when I was just 16. And this was what he was singing about. Sifter's record shop on Fog Lane, a favourite haunt of the Gallagher brothers long before they were famous, back when this town was the real oasis of the North.
In naval combat,
They're both essentially dead in the water.
size does matter.
Each of them has as much firepower as the entire Navy of any other nation on Earth.
Step aboard the world's most powerful vessels.
It provides us the speed, agility, and lethality to counter any threats.
Kaboom.
Combat ships, all new Sundays at 8 on Smithsonian Channel.
Relapsing MS isn't the only thing I have going on. That's why my doctor and I chose Kesimpta. Kesimpta is different. It's the only B-cell treatment for RMS I can take at home once a month. Kesimpta was proven superior at reducing the rate of relapses, active lesions, and slowing disability progression versus Aubagio. For me, a once-monthly treatment just works for my schedule.
Don't take Kesimpta if you have hepatitis B, and tell your doctor if you have had it, as it could come back. Kesimpta can cause serious side effects, including infections. While no cases of PML were reported in RMS clinical trials, it could happen. Tell your doctor if you had or plan to have vaccines, or if you are or plan to become pregnant. Kesimpta may cause a decrease in some types of antibodies. The most common side effects are upper respiratory tract infection, headache, and injection reactions.
When I'm ready, I spend less than 1 minute a month taking Kesimpta. How I spend the rest of my time is up to me.
Ask your doctor about treating RMS with Kesimpta.
It's about time I found a shirt that fits my frame.
I love the fit. It's definitely a little looser here than my other shirts. It kind of makes me feel a little more buff, you know?
You seeing this? I'm 6'5". I can't do this without the shirt.
I feel like I'm getting a designer shirt for a fraction of the price. It fits the way you want, everywhere you want. And I look pretty dang good too, don't I?
Just located, original U.S. government Morgan silver dollars, the most sought-after coins in American history. Bulletin, 9:45 a.m. New York. National Collectors Mint releases 3,235 of the last surviving United States minted Morgan silver dollars still in existence. Each coin is 102 to 145 years old, but condition is important, and all the U.S. government Morgan silver dollars in this release are guaranteed to be in brilliant uncirculated to fine condition. 320 million Morgan silver dollars were melted by the U.S. government for both world wars. Millions more were melted by silver profiteers again and again as silver prices soared. Each contains over 3/4 of an ounce of pure silver. When silver first hit $50 an ounce, China and India were poor nations. Now China is rich, and India's demand for silver coins and bars has increased almost 30% in the last year alone. Will this drive the price to double back to $50 or even higher? Since 2002, overall purchases of silver coins and bars are up almost 800%. But you can still get the same quality Morgans for our low TV price, just $39 each. This price can only be guaranteed for the next 7 days. This is $50 to $65 less than several national retailers charge for a similar Morgan silver dollar. These original United States minted Morgan silver dollars are heavy with .900 pure silver and rich in historic value. These last remaining survivors can be yours for just $39 each. Strict limit of 5 coins per caller. National Collectors Mint protect your purchase price with our silver dollar money back guarantee. But you must act soon to own an authentic Morgan silver dollar at this price. Orders accepted on a first come, first served basis. Don't miss out. Call now.
Call 1-800-298-4945. That's 1-800-298-4945. Strict limit of 5 coins per caller. Call 1-800-298-4945 or log on to getmorgans.com.
My name is Nick Dodani, and I first realized I was queer in high school. This Pride Month, I really hope that... Huh? Oh, it's AAPI Month? Give me a second. Hi, I'm Nick Dodani, and I am a proud South Asian American. My roots are tangled across the borders of India and Pakistan. My parents spoke 3 languages fluently before they moved across the world to Dallas, Texas to have me and my sister and master a 4th. Oh, and my boyfriend is Indian too. Is that something?
Long before cheap air travel opened up the sunspots of Europe, this is where northerners came on holiday. Blackpool, 40 miles northwest of Manchester, England's most famous resort. Blackpool was once a fashionable spa town for well-to-do Victorians. But when the railways brought it within reach of factory towns across the northwest, everything changed. Happy to escape the tedium of their working lives, if only for a few days, workers flocked to Blackpool in their thousands. Today, the town's pleasure beach is England's most popular amusement park. Along with the carousels and waltzers at the Central and North Pier, the park is home to giant roller coasters, including Britain's highest, the Big One. But it's at night that Blackpool really comes alive. Every autumn, 1 million bulbs create a light show known as the Blackpool Illuminations. And its centrepiece is the 518-foot Blackpool Tower, one of Northern England's most iconic landmarks. Modelled on the Eiffel Tower, it has overlooked the promenade since 1894. Back then, visitors paid the princely sum of 1 shilling to take the elevator to the observation deck. In 1879, the streetlights of Blackpool became one of the first in the world to be powered by electricity, an innovation that would forever change the way people lived. Not that there's anything wrong with wanting things to stay the same. The rugged beauty of the Yorkshire moors is often shrouded by the clouds and rain of an unforgiving climate, but not today. These classic British roadsters, one of which featured memorably in Mel Brooks' 1976 film Silent Movie, are Morgans. They're hand-built, with a distinctive look and feel that's hardly changed in decades. Richard and Sandy Cole like them so much, they spent the best part of their life savings on one, and they don't regret that for a second. A retired Royal Air Force combat pilot, Richard saw active duty over Iraq during Operation Desert Storm. These days, though he still travels in formation, it's a little closer to the ground. For all the world, the village of Haworth on the edge of the moors looks frozen in time. It would appear little has changed since clergyman Patrick Bronte came here in the early 19th century. 3 of the parson's daughters, Charlotte, Emily and Anne, would write some of the greatest novels in English literature. In her late 20s, Emily wrote Wuthering Heights, using the moors as an unforgettable backdrop to her masterpiece. The intense passion of Cathy and Heathcliff's doomed romance still resonates to this day, made even more poignant by the fate of its author and her sisters. Tragically, all 3 would die young. Anne was buried in Scarborough. Her sisters lie here in the family vault at Haworth. In 1890, the Irish author Bram Stoker paid a visit to the fishing village of Whitby on the Yorkshire coast. A random book choice at a local library could well have inspired the creation of the greatest fiend of horror culture, Count Dracula. During his time here, Stoker visited the atmospheric 16th century ruin of Whitby Abbey. Its ghostly silhouette would fire his imagination. Stoker was especially intrigued by the constantly changing light on the Abbey's walls. Not to mention the thousands of bats he found roosting in its shadows. Later, at a library that once stood on the village quay, he found a history book that mentioned a mysterious Transylvanian count. And so a blood-soaked legend was born. In Stoker's tale, the ship carrying Dracula is driven ashore at Whitby during a storm. Coming ashore as a black dog, the shadow of the Count soon falls over the sleepy fishing village. Whitby continues to attract fans of the legend, some of whom have even been known to ask for Dracula's grave. Such is the power of the novel. 268 miles long, the Pennine mountain range stretches from Derbyshire to the Scottish border. Separating northwest England from Yorkshire, they are known as the backbone of England. In the Pennine uplands of Yorkshire lie the Dales, an area of outstanding natural beauty and a national park since 1954. 800 square miles of stunning hills and U-shaped valleys that Yorkshire people have long since dubbed God's own country. The undulating roads of the Yorkshire Dales, largely free of traffic, are ideal for serious road cycling. In typically proud Yorkshire fashion, Richmond Cycle Club claims to be one of the oldest in Britain, if not the world. Leader of the pack, Sven Wardle, has been cycling the Dales for over 20 years, competing on the toughest circuits this terrain has to offer. Every year, Richmond Cycle Club organises a race through the Dales, a challenging 118-mile ride that includes seriously tough uphill sections. Not all the byways of the north are quite so unforgiving. Take Penny Lane, for example, enshrined in song by four of England's most famous sons.
Smithsonian Channel celebrates the coronation of King Charles III with a week honoring the royal family. The celebration of King Charles III's coronation, all week long on Smithsonian Channel.
Entresto is the #1 heart failure brand prescribed by cardiologists. It was proven superior at helping people stay alive and out of the hospital. Don't take Entresto if pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. And don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or aliskiren, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Ask your doctor about Entresto.
With ButcherBox, you get 100% grass-fed beef, organic free-range chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught seafood, and so much more. Sign up today at butcherbox.com for a special offer.
Oh, not him. His first name's Derek. He's all the way uptown. Yeah, I'd rather just let my teeth fall out. Too educated. Too young. Too old. Too medium-aged. Too good-looking to be good. Ooh, great reviews. Available tomorrow? Booked.
Thank you for doing that out loud.
Dr. Hamilton is perfect for me.
Search, read reviews, book a doctor on ZocDoc. Nope.
Constant Contact delivers the marketing tools your small business needs to keep up, excel, and grow. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
The all-day, everyday pant by Public Rec. More comfortable than jeans, more stylish than sweats. With the all-day, everyday pant, you can choose your waist and length sizes to guarantee a perfect fit. Now comfort looks good.
Are you sick of UTIs? I had 8 in 1 year. This inspired my husband and I to start Eucora.
Eucora makes a UTI emergency kit to manage your symptoms until you can see a doctor.
If you get UTIs, try Eucora. Eucora saved my life.
Try today at eucora.com.
Shutterfly gets your photos off your phone and into one-of-a-kind wall art, gifts, photo books, and more. All covered by our 100% happiness guarantee. Get your photos off your phone and get 40% off everything with code TV40.
Meet Noodles. She's part short hair, part tabby, and part ninja. Meet the new Bissell Crosswave Hydro Steam. It's part vacuum, part mop, part all-in-one steam cleaner. Oh, and part Ninja Nemesis. Every purchase saves pets, like Noodles. Bissell, a new breed of clean.
I will never forget the look on her face. It was just breathtaking. I was looking for a gift for my grandmother, and I stumbled upon Storyworth, and it changed our lives completely.
Give someone you love Storyworth at Storyworth.com.
I'm a pet person just like you.
If my pet ever got hurt or sick, it would just break my heart, and possibly the bank. So I got a pet insurance plan from Pumpkin. Bad things happen to good pets all the time. Pet insurance from Pumpkin. Get it before you need it.
Every Monday and Saturday in May, Smithsonian Channel honors the United States military.
We revere these people as heroes. They were heroes.
Explore the battles, aircraft, and warships that shaped the course of history as we pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for their country.
Even in a war that involves millions of combatants, one person's life can make all the difference.
Memorial May, Mondays at 8 and Saturdays at 1 on Smithsonian Channel.
The early morning sun seems to bring this statue of John, Paul, George and Ringo to life. Even now, almost half a century since they became global superstars, the Fab Four are still heroes in their hometown. From the early gigs at the Cavern Club to the streets and parks of their childhood, Liverpool inspired many of the Beatles' most famous songs. And fans still come in search of locations immortalised in the lyrics they wrote. This is Strawberry Fields, in the Liverpool suburb of Woolton, where John Lennon attended garden parties as a child. The name would inspire one of his most personal songs. The stop where a young Paul McCartney caught the bus to his friend John's house would become famous as Penny Lane's shelter in the middle of the roundabout. Today it's part of a magical mystery tour experience, taking fans around the various locations associated with the band. And yes, there's even a yellow submarine. During the summer months, dedicated fans can spend a hard day's night in the psychedelic interior of this 1960s themed floating hotel. The Peace Monument of King's Dock commemorates the life of John Lennon and his long-held dream of world peace. Created by American artist Lauren Voyers, it was unveiled on October the 9th, 2010, on what would have been Lennon's 70th birthday. On the estuary where the River Mersey flows into the Irish Sea, Liverpool was once known as England's gateway to the world. From here, goods and people flowed to and from every part of the globe. This trade made Liverpool the richest city outside of London. By the late 19th century, Britain's Industrial Revolution began losing steam, and Liverpool suffered a long decline. But just like Manchester, the city has found ways to forge a new future from its past. The warehouses of the Royal Albert Dock were once vast storage sites for goods and raw materials. Today, its shops, museums and galleries attract 4 million visitors every year. The River Mersey has always been the soul of Liverpool. But there are places in northern England where water has come to define the landscape in even more inspiring ways. This is Kirkstone Mountain Pass in Cumbria, gateway to the Lake District National Park, a magical landscape of hills, lakes and woodlands that for centuries has fired the imagination of writers and poets. The 3,000-foot monolith of Scafell Pike is England's highest mountain. Surrounding it are the great peaks of the Southern Fells, an ancient landscape whose grandeur and majesty never fails to impress those who come here. Radiating outward on all sides and covering an area of 900 square miles are the lakelands that give this region its name. The dark glacial lake of Wastwater is the deepest in Britain, 258 feet at its lowest point. Ullswater, 9 miles long and nearly a mile wide, is the national park's second biggest lake, and to many, the most beautiful in England. To the south, The Great Ribbon Lake of Windermere is the largest in England. 11 miles long, it's a haven for pleasure cruisers and sports people alike. Since 1938, the MV Swan has been a familiar sight on Windermere, offering tourists a taste of what the aptly named poet William Wordsworth once described as a universe of fairest forms. And this was his home, Dove Cottage. The Romantic poet lived most of his life in the Lake District, and it would inspire some of his greatest work. Long before it was a national park, he saw it as a natural resource that everyone had the right to enjoy. In 1889, when the MV Raven was first launched on Ullswater Lake, she was powered by steam. Now she runs on diesel, but otherwise little has changed since the day Germany's last emperor stood on this very deck. In 1912, Kaiser Wilhelm II took a trip on the Raven during a visit to the Lake District. 2 years later, his armies would invade neutral Belgium, triggering the cataclysm of World War I. Shepherds have moved their flocks across the hills of the Lake District for over 1,000 years. And where there are sheep, there are sheepdogs. Alan Bradley has farmed here for most of his life. An expert sheepdog trainer, he communicates with Jess, his faithful border collie since puppyhood, using whistled commands. Collies are gentle and intelligent by nature, making them ideal working dogs. What was once a job is now also a national sport. Alan and Jess compete in events all over England. Their success has resulted in a unique sideline business. Alan now runs sheep herding classes on his farm for stressed-out executives. Of course, some prefer to unwind in different ways. If you really want to leave the cares of the world behind, there's nothing quite like open water and the roar of a powerful engine. For all the leisurely charm of its waterways, the Lake District has seen more than its fair share of speed and tragedy. In February 1930, legendary racer Sir Harry Seagrave crossed Windermere in his boat Miss England II. Hitting 98.76 miles per hour, he broke the world water speed record. Midway through his third run, the boat capsized, killing Seagrave's mechanic Victor Helliwell and ultimately Seagrave himself. When it came to conquering the elements, not every pioneer would pay for it with their life. In September 1784, Oxford pastry chef and amateur aeronaut James Sadler became the first Englishman to take flight in a hot air balloon. He reached an altitude of 3,600 feet and travelled 6 miles in a craft whose basic design hasn't changed much since. As an aeronautical engineer, Peter Donkin has applied his skills to everything from military jet fighters to passenger planes. But his real passion is for hot air balloons. And when it comes to locations for a late evening flight, the rolling hills and shining waterways of the Lake District are hard to beat. Peter has taken to the skies above Ullswater and Windermere many times. There are no onboard computer systems to check, no speed to maintain, no engines to monitor. Just the pure exhilaration of flight and a unique perspective on the stunning tableau laid out beneath his feet. A vista that couldn't be more different to the industrial heartlands of the north, where engineering would define a city and conquer the oceans.
I feel like I'm getting a designer shirt for a fraction of the price. Man, it's a About time I found a shirt that fits my frame.
I love the fit. It's definitely a little looser here than my other shirts. Kind of makes me feel a little more buff, you know?
I wish you were here.
If you have a sleep disorder, proper maintenance of your sleep equipment could help you avoid getting sick. Sleep equipment manufacturers recommend daily cleaning, and SoClean is a helpful complement to your daily routine. Order now and save over $60 at SoClean.com.
I don't want to take medication. Wow. It's so refreshing to find a doctor who gets what you need. Especially for a post-pandemic hypochondriac who watched one episode of a medical show with my mother and now gets all sweaty and weird around doctors. So, should we move on? Great. Good.
How often do you exercise?
Dr. Stafford just kind of speaks your language.
Search, read reviews, book a doctor on ZocDoc.
When I first started out as a filmmaker, I didn't want to get into credit cards because I realized I didn't know anything about it and it felt very risky to me. So my friend told me about Chime. I got the credit builder card and it was crazy. I didn't have to worry about interest. I didn't have to worry about fees. There wasn't a credit check. My score's up 80 points. I just finished my feature film and it feels like there's a future ahead to where we're saving up to buy a house. Look, if I can do it, you can do it too. Join me at Chime.com.
Most name brand bars and body washes you rub on your skin are classified by the FDA as synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man, and men deserve real, all-natural soap. Get ready to step out of the shower feeling alive. We make our soaps with natural ingredients from the earth. You won't just smell good either. Your skin will be healthier and more nourished. Dare I say, soft. Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. Real soap for real men.
Looking for the perfect gift? Go to birthday.co to create a personalized book for your loved one that's written all about them. Starting with their birthday, an expert team of astrologers instantly crafts a beautiful, unique book explaining their chart in detail, including their name, their birth chart, their zodiac sign, and over 70 pages of custom astrological readings, all in a gorgeous hardcover package. It's the ultimate gift because it's unique for every person and it ships fast. On sale now for Mother's Day at birthday.co.
I had a client once who was a respiratory care nurse during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. BetterHelp, quite literally, I think, provided her what she needed in an acute way at the most pivotal time in her life. And I was grateful to have been able to walk alongside her because, you know, she was a hero.
What is this place?
The other side of the rest stop.
If you're looking for a first mate, I know a guy. Me.
Is this Oak?
You could save a ton with Progressive by bundling your boat or RV with your home and auto.
Hey, guys! Free bags!
This small thing is the next big thing in diabetes. It shows your glucose and predicts where it's headed, just like that. Not magic, it just feels that way. Dexcom, powerful, simple diabetes management.
Discover the history made on this day. Every night of the week, Smithsonian Channel presents a feature highlighting landmark events and defining moments on the day that they happened. On this day, tonight at 11 on Smithsonian Channel.
This is one of the greatest industrial centres in all of England. Like Liverpool and Manchester on the far side of the country, this city played a pivotal role in the Industrial Revolution. Newcastle upon Tyne. And it was all powered by coal. At its height, 2,000 miners extracted 600,000 tonnes of coal a year from this Northumberland pit. Woodhorn in Ashington is a museum now, lovingly preserved as a monument to a bygone age when men toiled in darkness to mine the coal that made Newcastle famous. Closed in 1981, Woodhorn remains the most authentic example of what the collieries of this area once looked like. Taking pride of place is a statue of a miner with a lamp, commemorating the 13 men who died here in an underground gas explosion in 1916. With giant wind turbines now rising from the surrounding landscape, it's clear that time has moved on. But the past will never be forgotten. The industry that made Newcastle famous around the world was shipbuilding. Here, along the meandering bends of the River Tyne, are the last traces of what were once the world's largest shipyards. At its peak, the scale of Tyneside's operation was immense, with over a dozen shipbuilding companies. The largest, called Swan Hunter, employed thousands of workers. From 1860, it produced more than 2,700 vessels, including RMS Mauritania, which once held the blue ribbon for the fastest Atlantic crossing. These yards, which once rang with the deafening sound of heavy engineering, have been silent since 2008. But even now, their legacy lives on. The Tyneside town of Wallsend once marked the eastern end of Hadrian's Wall. But what really sets it apart, at least for music fans, is the fact that an international superstar grew up here. This red brick terraced house, now a fast food outlet, was once home to Gordon Sumner, better known to the world as Sting. He spent his childhood close to the Swan Hunter shipyard. Sting's memories of the town would have a profound influence on his work. The title track of the singer's 1991 album, The Soul Cages, are filled with references to Newcastle. It won the first ever Grammy Award for Best Rock Song. Later, Newcastle would inspire Sting's 2011 musical, The Last Ship, which tells the story of a community coming to terms with the decline of the shipbuilding industry. The Newcastle of Sting's formative years was a city sunk deep in economic depression. Today, it's a place of hope and innovation, a spirit mirrored in the city's vibrant and challenging architecture. The unique steel facade of the Sage Building was designed to enhance the acoustics of this music venue's vast interior. But the building also reaches out to the city around it, hosting classes for musicians of all ages and offering a curriculum for the performers and composers of the future. Another landmark of the modern city is the Baltic Centre for Contemporary Art. The former structure of an enormous flour mill is now one of England's most progressive performance centres. Its 6,000 square feet of gallery space, workshops and artist studios have transformed an industrial monolith into a creative hub for the 21st century. Spanning the River Tyne at Gateshead, the Millennium Bridge has 6 hydraulic rams that rotate the entire structure through 40 degrees from closed to open in just 4.5 minutes. Nicknamed the Blinking Eye Bridge by locals, the design is so energy efficient, each full rotation costs just $5. On the hill of Birtley near Gateshead, 5 miles south of Newcastle, stands what is arguably the most famous statue in all of England, the Angel of the North. 65 feet tall, the height of a 5-story building with a wingspan of 177 feet, it was made from 150 tons of steel. To suggest an embrace, the great figure leans forward at an angle of 3.5 degrees. The angel is the work of artist Anthony Gormley, who also chose its location on the site of a 200-year-old mine. To Gormley, it represents the area's transition from heavy industry to the modern digital age. But it also speaks of a people's hope for the future. When he was asked why an angel, Gormley replied, because no one has seen one, and we need to keep imagining them. Completed in 1998, it has become one of the most beloved and iconic landmarks in Britain. A symbol of strength and resilience, honouring the past, even as it reaches out to embrace the future. A fitting tribute